Hello?
Hey, is this Pam?
Oh,
Is
my
this Pam?
gosh. Did the show start? Did you hear anything?
I didn't hear anything.
Oh, my internet, it keeps going out in my area, my internet and my phone.
Oh, no.
And it's making me nuts, so I have no idea if I'm live right now. Can you bear with me 1 second so I can check?
Absolutely.
Because if I'm live, everybody hears what we're saying right now, so they'll understand. I'm going to go ahead and try to start one of your songs and see if that works. One moment, please.
All right.
Okay, well, it looks like I am live on the air. Can you hear me?
We're on the air.
All right. What a way to start the day. I mean, first of all, I don't normally do interviews this early in the morning, but there was no way I was going to pass up talking to you. And for our listeners, if you're just tuning in, I apologize greatly for all the difficulties I'm having. This is not even the difficulties I normally have on a Monday. But my internet and my phone and my cable TV are all through the same company. And literally minutes before going live with the show, everything went down. And so I used my cell phone to call the company and ask them what the heck is going on. and you get the automated thing, it'll be ready at 1:30. I'm like, oh, heck no, this ain't happening, you know. Well, thankfully, then it went up. Well, just as it went up and I dialed in, it went back down again. So I had no idea what was going on. All right, so the person that's on the other phone with me right now is my wonderful guest, and I did not even get to ask you. Do you say your name Jandre?
Jandre, yes.
Okay.
In Spanish
okay,
is Jandre, and English is Jandre.
Jandre, okay, because I can't do accents. I'm real bad. I'm a white girl.
It's okay.
And he's the lead singer of the awesome rock band Message to Venus. So I hope your day is starting out better than mine, and I want to thank you so much for joining me and for your patience.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
You're very, very welcome. Why don't we start out with just a little bit of background on yourself? Like, when did you become interested in music, and when did you discover you could sing?
My dad's a musician, so I've always been around music. Speaking about that, I rarely have dreams, and I had a wild dream last night that I took my dad to New York City, and that we were trying to get him in a club, and the bouncer wouldn't let him in. And he kept asking my dad for ID. My dad's like, I don't have an ID on me. And I'm like, dude, I started laughing. I'm like, he's a 64-year-old man. He looks like he's 21. And that was like, and then I had a friend who was like the owner of the club. And then he was like, dude, don't mess with the bouncers. They won't let you in. I'm like, I don't get it. He's a 64-year-old man. Why are you not letting him in? I was like, I was upset but laughing at the same time, like mocking, like, dude, are you so ignorant? How are you so stupid? We just want to see a blues show. It was like I was thinking to see a blues show. Anyways. That was my dream last night, so I woke up to that. I woke up laughing. I was like, what? What the hell?
Yeah.
Anyways, so my dad was a musician. He had a big band back in the day, like a big cover band, Stones and Santana stuff. So ever since I was in my mom's womb, I've always been around music. And I started as a piano player when I was much younger. That's what he does. He's piano and percussion. And then I kind of lost my interest to piano when Smells Like Teen Spirit came out, when Nirvana came out, and then I was like, and I really loved Metallica riffs back in the early 90s, and then I was like, I got to play guitar, and I had an experience playing a couple of guitars of my dad's musicians, and they would let me use their guitars. One of them, Cookie, props to Cookie for actually letting me have his American Standard Black Stratocaster for like 2 weeks. He's like, just keep this for 2 weeks. I would never do this to anybody, but I really want you to, understand the instrument.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, wow. Now that I look at myself, I was like, as an adult, I just leave my standard, best guitar to some 14-year-old kid for 2 weeks,
Right.
But that was one of my dad's best friends. And ever since then, my dad saw I was progressing in interest, and I was really dedicating myself to learning. He bought me one of those little DVDs that is like teaches you. And I really progressed in that. And you asked me about singing. I still don't consider myself a singer, but ever since, I guess, 2005, 2006, when I started doing my first recordings with a friend of mine, that I had the concept for the band of Message to Venus, and I was talking to a few friends about getting some singers, but there was really nobody that had the tone that I liked or could do the melodies that I wanted them to do. They were either too pop or they were too aggressive. Mm. And that's not the concept of Message to Venus. We want everyone to be able to enjoy it. And like I say in many other interviews, this band is built and designed for women to enjoy hard rock. That's what we did this band for. And, absolutely. And, because it has a lot of melodies, you can sing to it, but yet it's aggressive, so guys can also get into it. We wanted to be a very unisex band, but, we really want chicks to dig our music because as I grew up as a kid, I remember my first couple girlfriends, and I was always into hard rock, and they're like, I don't want to listen to that.
Really?
So I was like, there was always a friend that she liked it, but then, she was just pretending she liked it just because she wanted to hang out with you. But I discovered I felt more comfortable, to better say, singing while recording this last album. The EP that you just heard was produced by myself and by John and Edgar and JuanMa. So we didn't really have, of course they were like, oh, dude, it sounds awesome, blah, blah. But when you record with a producer like Leo Alvarez, and he's just like, brutal, like, oh, you don't sound like you've been practicing, you don't have it down. And it's just, he gives you the brutal truth. And sometimes I was like, wow, I don't have what it takes, or, you just start doubting yourself. But then he's like, I call him and tell him, man, you made me doubt myself. Now I don't feel confident. Now I don't feel he's like, no, it's not about that, but you need to be prepared, So, and it was a bummer because the recording studio was 2.5 hours away. But, yeah, that's that.
Wow. Well, thank God you discovered your voice, because you have an awesome voice. I love your music.
You.
And any girls out there that don't like hard rock, they don't know what they're missing, because I grew up with that, and I'm a headbanger at heart. So I would have definitely been all for it.
Keep in mind that I do, we are from Puerto Rico, and it's like different cultures. So, for like a guy like us, there was a scene, and I remember there was like very selective girls, and then that liked the music and the metal. Of course, there was more guys in the rock shows than girls. So then it was like, to find a girl you're attracted to and that she likes the same type of music, and be able to hear the same thing. It was like, it was a total plus.
Yeah,
so Puerto Rico, basically what I'm saying is it's not culture in Puerto Rico for most girls to like hard rock,
Really? What do they go for? Do they go for more like pop music or something?
More pop, more Latin, anything that you can dance to, Latin style,
Okay. Well, you can dance to anything if you really want to, so
absolutely.
That's how I feel about it. Now, did you ever get to play with your dad in his band?
Absolutely. I played most of my life with him. I remember he did a couple of high school reunions, and then he was always in charge of the DJ, and he was always in charge of, like, getting the band and getting the gear and the sound stuff and blah, blah, blah. And he always like, all right, I need you to sing in. I need you to do rhythm guitar here. I need you to do this and that. Sometimes I play bass. Sometimes I play guitar. Never did anything with him, but it was always strictly just guitar. And he always really enjoyed having me being on stage with him and helping him organize. Not too long ago, a good friend of mine, George Musa, from New York City, he got married in Puerto Rico, and he called me, and he's like, I need to do a jam. I need you to get a keyboard player. I need you to do this and that, get a PA, blah, 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 bass amp. So I was, like, in charge of all the backline. And it was a Rolling Stones tribute to his wife, to his future, well, now it's his wife, but he did this pre-wedding party, and he brought all because he's a musician from New York, he brought all his other friends from New York who I've never met, and we instantly became, like, really good friends. And George, he was so grateful. He was like, wow, I can't believe he brought your dad out, with the keyboards and this and that. He didn't expect that. He thought I was just going to put a bunch of backline. And I told him, give me the set list. We're going to figure this out. I was sitting down with my dad, and I was like, and it was backwards. Before 12 years ago, 15 years ago, my dad was correcting me, like, no, you're doing that wrong chord, blah, blah, blah. Now it was like, no, Dad, you're doing this chord wrong. You got to do progression, And he was like, he actually enjoyed that. He was like, wow, cool, man.
Well, I think it's a great honor for your father to have you, following along in his footsteps, even if you do different types of music, where yours is original and his is cover. It's got to be really great, and I'm sure he's very, very proud of you.
Absolutely. I'm sure it's a trip.
Definitely. Now, I know you've probably had this question a million times in an interview, but how did you guys end up together to form Message to Venus?
Not a problem to answer that. We formed in the not normal way that usually bands are like they've known each other since high school and they all play together, or But basically, what happened was, as I was pre-recording the EP, which is called The Envelope. At the same time, John, Edgar, and JuanMa had a different band, and they were starting the process of recording the album of what is now Victims-and-Villians with producer Leo Alvarez. Now, I have worked with Leo Alvarez in the past with other projects that I had, and I did record a full-length album with him with my previous band. So I know Leo very well, the producer and indie engineer. And John and Edgar and JuanMa, I do know them from previous bands we used to play together. Like I said, Puerto Rico rock scene is really small. So throughout the past 10 years of our lives, we always played together different rock shows and stuff like that. So one day, the singer that was with them, excuse me, he quit. Something personal happened. He had to leave, things happen. And I really enjoyed his vocals, too. I remember seeing him sing, and I was like, I compared him a lot to Tool style. He did a lot of the Maynard sustained vocals and stuff like that. And at that same time, the musicians I was working with just called it quits on me. They were older guys, they had kids, and they were constantly canceling rehearsals, and they only wanted to play gigs. And I was like, no, man, if we don't rehearse, we don't play. That was like my mentality, because I'm not going to go and just do a bunch of crap on stage, because I see that there's enough of that. And the problem is that most of the musicians I was with were local cover band guys, so they have that cover band mentality that you play along with the CD at your home, and then you show up in the gig and jam out the song. And I wanted to do a concept. I wanted to do a show, and I was like, man, I can't seem to get anybody on my page. So Leo Alvarez, my good friend from San Juan, who is a producer, engineer, and he owns a home recording studio. When I say home recording studio, don't underestimate it. This guy has very extensive knowledge. This is all he's ever done his whole life. And Leo called me. He's like, so the guys from Defect, which is John, Edgar, and JuanMa, they don't have a singer, and they have this album that's about halfway done, and do you want to finish it? I was like, well, let me see. So I went, I checked it out. I loved what they were recording. I was like, all right, we got to finish it, but it's not going to be called Defect. I have a concept in my mind. We can just merge it all together. And then we decided to just turn it into Message to Venus, and I had them help me re-record the EP and reproduce it and, get it all together with their inputs and perfect it within the budget we had, of course. That was not recorded with Leo Alvarez, though. So we decided to release that EP while we were still finishing the recording of Victims and Villains, which is the reason why Message to Venus is together. And then Leo called me, and I went over there. I loved what I heard, and the first track I recorded was a track called Cold and Gray. You can get that off of iTunes, or you can just listen to it on the YouTube channel. And Cold and Gray was the first one I recorded. I wanted to know what the guys thought about it, and they loved it. The album is a lot more hard rock than I would want to be. In terms of, I didn't want it to be so aggressive. Like, Leo wanted me to scream a lot more. And I was like, dude, I'm not that pissed at the world. But, I'm really not. I'm a pretty mellow guy. He's like, I know, but because he has heard my potential in the screams, because I was a second vocalist for my previous band, and I did most of the screaming, like, all that stuff. And stuff, I can't even do that anymore. I don't know if it's because I'm just not angry, or if my vocal cord, if it requires a certain amount of maintenance and practice. Like, there's techniques to screaming, there's techniques to doing that without blowing out your vocal cords. So I guess before, I don't know if it was because of all the alcohol and drugs, during the gigs, or that just numbed my vocal cords. But right now, I'm not in that world, and I'm just not angry. So I just feel melodic.
Yeah, I don't understand how the music that's out there that they call hard metal or just metal or something, where they're screaming like that. I never understood how they could do that song after song after song without losing their voice. But I guess you just... Those are techniques. There are DVDs on how to do that. Really?
And there's this lady, she's a professional singing vocalist teacher and coach. She gives vocal coaching for screaming, and she explains, like, scientifically how the vocal cords inside move and how the muscle, how to not, where to put your tongue and how to practice it and how to develop it. Like, for example, bands like Arch Enemy, that chick, like, you hear her in her records, you don't even know it's a chick, and all of a sudden she starts doing her singing, and then all of a sudden she's in interviews talking like a girl, and she's a beautiful woman, and you're like, oh my God, she screams like something out of Pantera. That's Philip and Selma with tits.
Well, I don't mind it. It's not my first choice as far as a lot of screaming, because only for me, and maybe because I'm getting old, although don't ever tell me I'm old, because I'll have to slap you upside your head. But it's just that sometimes I have a problem understanding what they're singing when they're screaming like that.
Yeah. You want to know what's going on.
really hard scream. I just, like I said, I call it screamo. I don't even know if that's a word, but that's how it sounds to me. So but I do love rock music. Like I said, that's my first and foremost, and I'm so grateful that it's never left us, you know, like disco is dead and other things like that, you know. Things just fall on the wayside, but to me, rock will live on forever, and great bands like you guys, you know, keep coming up and keep it going and perfecting it and putting your own spin on it, and I just love it. I love it, and that's why I do this type of radio show. I love it.
Beautiful.
Now, as far as your guys all living together in the same state, what I read was that some of you live in Miami and some are still in Puerto Rico. Is that still the case?
Oh, well, the drummer JuanMa is still in San Juan right now. He has a very important job, works for the government in computers, and he's like one of these help tech guys, and he does communications, and he's very good at his job. I'm under the impression he's the only one who really knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Because Puerto Rico is falling apart. But JuanMa will be over here soon. We are planning a bunch of gigs for September, October, November, and JuanMa has a whole bunch of vacation time he's going to take off to come over here and do a bunch of gigs with us, go back in Puerto Rico for Christmas season, finish off his job, and then be over here permanently by next year.
Oh, well, I'm sure that'll make it a lot easier for you guys with having to practice and then do touring and things like that. All I have to say is thank God for the Internet and for the cell phones and things like that these days, because I know you guys can do a lot of recording like that and then send it over to him, and then, you know, he puts his input and whatever. I mean, just think about the bands that are doing that these days, where from all over the world you can do this and make great music versus, you know, even 5 years ago that wasn't even possible.
No, it wasn't. Like, I remember talking to the boys about this not too long ago, and we're like, wow. I was like, man, I had a band back in the day. I told them we would have been so famous. We had the internet and all this stuff instead of running around and just like, but, you know, the exposure that it all gives you and you know, with the Twitter and everything, it's just insane. It's insane. Like, my Twitter's up to like 2,300 something followers. I don't even know 500 people.
Yeah. Well, they know you now.
Yeah, so it's funny. It really is, you know.
Well, it's great because you do get your music out throughout the world, as I said, by using social media and versus pretty much stayed. If you're in Miami, that's where it pretty much stayed. So now you get it out all over the world, and that's so wonderful. I wouldn't be talking to you right now if that didn't happen. So thank you. Whoever invented all these things, thank you.
Yeah, it is awesome.
Now, as far as songwriting goes, do you do that, or do you all collaborate?
It's all of us together. We all collaborate. We all share the ideas. John and I've been staying in John's house for the past month. I'm about to get my own apartment now. So John, basically, every day we sit down with the guitar, and, well, not every day, but every once in a while we have a little moment, and we're like, check out this riff, you know? And he's like, all right. So then I'm like, oh, my God, I had a chorus, and I needed a verse, and you just got that verse. So we did a song the other day like that, and then Edgar, using GarageBand and going back to the internet, he sends us via online a bunch of little stuff he does on GarageBand, little ideas, and I'm constantly on my cell phone with the voice memos. I'm constantly recording you know, recording riffs or vocal ideas, and we put it all together. That's why we're really excited about the next project that we're going to be recording in the future. I'm speaking very future right now because we're about to release our first full-length album called Victims-and-Villians. But, you know, we're very liberate. No one gets super dominant, or, you know, a lot of, I've worked with other bands that's this specific guitar player is no, this is the way it's going to be, this is what we're going to do, and that's it, you know?
Wow.
But that doesn't exist in this band. This band has like, if somebody doesn't dig something, then we'll not include it, or we'll try to get them to dig it, in a nice manner way. Like, no, man, check it out, but think of this, all right, so, how would you want to do it? I would rather do it like this. Let's do it like that then, So we all collaborate.
Well, that's wonderful, because that's what makes you guys in a group that are going to stay together forever. No one has a bigger head than somebody else, and no one wants to be the boss. You all work together, and that is going to work for you in the long run. Now, who would you say, after saying that, is the perfectionist in the group?
The perfectionist in the group is probably, somewhere between John and JuanMa, because they're so picky and they're so anal. They are. These guys are like, JuanMa gets really frustrated easily. He's like, oh, no, it didn't work out. Damn. Like on a show, like we played perfectly, and I didn't even notice he dropped a stick or something like that. And he's like, yeah, it was okay. I dropped a stick. And I was like, what? I'm like, dude, I had no idea, so probably between John and JuanMa. One of the two gets that award.
And who's the one that's likely to play jokes on all of you guys?
Edgar, definitely Edgar. I lived with Edgar for, the bass player. I lived with him for about maybe 2-3 months, and he had this house in Puerto Rico. It's, up in the mountains. And he had this roommate, and he was always, doing pranks on him. Like this roommate, I remember we all got really, really, really drunk one night, and Edgar's dad was even there. And he was just, enjoying his time with the boys, It's like, boys, let the boys be boys. So then we all got smashed, hammered, and then his roommate at the time fell asleep vomiting in the bucket on the bed, and then Edgar threw a bunch of firecrackers in the bucket, and just lit it.
Oh my God!
And so doing stuff like that. So
my God!
Yeah, he's definitely, he takes it another notch. I'm like, dude, you do that to me, I will knock you out.
Yeah. Don't ever fall asleep drunk around him. That's all. I mean, you've seen what he can do.
No.
So.
Yes, I see the potential.
Now, who in the music industry, whether it's someone you know personally or another musician, gave you the best advice about music, and what was it?
Wow, that's a good question. Definitely, I remember with my previous band, it was called Slimy Nuggets, and at a time in Puerto Rico, we were playing the biggest rock shows in the island. The name is probably hard to take seriously, but this band was really tight, and we were really well known from 99 to 2004 in the island, of course. And I remember Emmy Latin called us for a meeting, and we went into the owner lady's house. Her name was Marisa, and her husband was the president of Emmy Latin Puerto Rico. And she was like, all right, so I want you guys to, we're going to consider you guys, and we need everyone. We need the grandmas to know who you are, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, the deal never went through because they wanted to change this Rage Against the Machine Puerto Rican-style band into an in-sync concept, I was like, I don't get it. Why do you consider us if you want to change us completely?
Right.
And she was like, I just want to commit you into a one-hit wonder, and then that's it. I just want one hit from you, and I want nothing else.
Oh,
I was
my
like,
gosh.
what? And she's like, and I'm going to tell you something, and remember this for the rest of your musical career. The music business works with lies and is covered with more lies and with more lies and with more lies and with more lies. That is the way it works. And throughout the years and dealing with the amount of people I've worked with in the music business, everything she has told me is absolutely true. So unfortunately, it's a very dark world. It's not as fun as a lot of people think. It's very frustrating. It can be, harsh. There's a lot of criticism. There's a lot of, especially jerks. Like I got this friend, and she did some recordings, and then somebody everyone has their opinion, so, and the right to do an opinion, but you don't need to be such an ass.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
So her words of lies versus lies are covered with more lies. That is the way it works. Producers, big festival producers and all these people, like booking agents and And all these guys, there's a lot of good ones, but there's a lot of shady dudes that will just bull crap the hell out of you.
Right. And, there's a reason they call it music business or entertainment business, because that's the way they look at it. They're out for business to make a buck for themselves, and they really don't care. And I'm not going to say all of them don't care, but most of them don't care. They just want to make the money, and that's it. If you're not good on the second album, or if you're not good on the second EP, or even the second song, then hello, goodbye. You're gone. So that's because there are so many bands out in the world. They know that they can find the next great band. So it's a sin and a shame. It really is.
Yep.
Instead of working with you to better something that they don't think is working, they'll just let you go.
Yeah, well, that's the way it is. It's just like any other job. There's an employee, has a great day, has a great month, great year, then all of a sudden he starts slacking, It's like, well, you got to go.
Yeah.
So.
I feel for them, that for the bands that they do that too, because a lot of them will give up just because of that.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to discuss one song in particular with you before we move on to your Victim and Villains. From the EP, The Envelope, one song that stood out to me was To Smile, and especially after I watched it on YouTube, it really, really touched my heart, and I love the positive message that you're sending out to those that suffer from something like, bullying or eating disorders. Now, whose idea was it for the fans to send in the photos? How did this all come about?
That was really JuanMa, the drummer, and John, who really got that, together. They were like, why don't we do this and put this together and have, people share their sorrow with ours, because everyone has a problem.
Right.
And, it was just really a beautiful thing, to some of the letters and photos that we received were very, very touching. Like I was like, oh my God, I wouldn't have the guts to do that. Then all these fans who sent all those pictures gave me as a person so much courage, so much courage. One of them was a girl, an older lady, and she seemed so nice. And she sent a picture saying that she was on the same year she was raped, she was beaten, and she got pregnant. And then, and she had a smile on her face while holding that up, and wow, props to her for being such a courageous woman and have gone through so much in such a horrible experience. And, just having things like that being posted, that really, really, really gave me so much courage and made me rewire myself as a man too.
Right.
So it really does. It's like, wow. And not only hers, but a lot of other people that, went through like the eating disorder and everything. It takes a lot to actually, admit to something and to hold it forward, photograph, and then smile along with it.
Exactly.
So it's acceptance. It's acceptance of your life. It's acceptance of what you've been through. And, life goes on. And everybody, it just goes to show, everybody has got a problem. Everybody has been through something. So,
exactly.
Well, maybe not everybody. There's always a little spoiled guy who's been happy his whole life and has a really beautiful giant condo and a nice Lamborghini. His dad bought him in South Miami Beach. But, the majority of us, I'm speaking about us, the majority. Yeah. And, it's just life goes on. So to smile, that's what it's about. It's like, just don't hold that weight on your shoulders and just continue and just smile, hold your head up high.
Well, I want to thank you for doing that, because I'm sure you've changed a lot of people's lives, especially the ones that were able to share what they've been through with you, and to have you guys put that out on video for them. I'm sure it made a world of difference to know that there are people out there that care and want to make a change in their life.
Awesome. Thank you for recognizing that. You're the first person who actually does that.
Thanks. Well, I have a young son, my youngest son. He's been through bullying because he's special needs, so I'm very, very aware of things that go on in people's lives, and I try to help change that by even just playing a song like yours.
Absolutely. Awesome. That's beautiful.
Thank you. Now let's go on to Victims and Villains and your Indiegogo campaign. Would you tell our listeners more about the campaign and some of the perks?
Yes. Our Indiegogo campaign is basically to help us fund our never-ending pocket of cost that has been – a lot of people don't have the minimal idea how much it costs to make a record like this.
Right.
It's not only about buying the studio time. It's not only about paying the producer. It's not only about getting copies printed. It's about the amount of time and effort and energy also invested and, taking time off of real work, quote, real work.
Yeah.
So this album has taken us 4 years to record, maybe 5, and it has been so uphill. I'm not saying it wasn't enjoyable. I'm saying it was, economically and mentally it was draining. It was very draining to be able to get this done. So what the Indiegogo campaign is offering is perks like, for example, our probably most sold perk is the digital download for only $10, and that is for the people who buy that will be the only crowd that gets the full-length album on September 1st. After that, we are releasing the album in October. So the digital copy is available on the Indiegogo campaign for only $10, and you will get it on September 1st. For $10, you're getting my infinite pocket from 5 years worth of work.
Yeah.
So it is a deal, and I guarantee you that the quality of this record is so badass. I'm really comparing it to multi-million-dollar studio recordings. I'm comparing it to a lot of top-end bands and albums, and it is right there on the money with those guys. So we have perks like that. We also have a really cool perk that was JuanMa's idea that was, and John, they are like the masters of marketing. And it is a comic book with the concept of the album. We have a character inside called Venus. We have different other characters. There's one of the spaceship in the comic book is called Jody. Last year when we had our tour bus was called Jody because we rented it from Bandigo, and that they give names to their buses. So our keychain for the band was called Jody. So we're keeping a lot of things, like there's a lot of hidden messages in the comic book. Mm-hmm. And don't think of it as anything corny. Like, it really is top quality. We're trying to do the best we can with the budget we have, and we got this artist called Neftali, Luciano, and Neftali is really an extremely talented human being. He does sculptures. He does realistic stuff. He does beautiful paintings, drawings, stencil, everything. This guy's like, I can't believe he's still in Puerto Rico. He should be somewhere else. But he's a good friend of JuanMa's, and he's helping us out with the album art, which is done. You can see that on the top of our Indiegogo campaign. It will show you a little sneak peek. And we have the comic book perk for, I think it's $25. And the comic book perk, there's other ones that's like $100, $150, $200, and it depends. Basically, you can have your name on the thank you for a certain amount of money, and then there's another one where you can name all the characters in the comic book.
That's so cool. That's so
awesome.
Cool.
There's always collectors. So this is more for the collectors and for the fans, and even if you want to do a really cool gift for your kid, or if he's into comic books and stuff, you like include all the characters of your family or good friends of his in a good moment time of his life. That's a really awesome memory for him to hold for the rest of his life. And we also have dog tags. They're not painted dog tags, the cheap ones that paint falls off. It's actually impressed dog tags of the band logo. And we got new T-shirts coming out. And, just go to Indiegogo.com, put Message to Venus, or go to MessageToVenus.com and help us out. Each and every one of the dollars that is put into the Indiegogo campaign is used to help release our record, which costs a fortune. Radio play is not cheap. Being promoted is not cheap. Getting the word out it's not like people think. You don't just send a record out and get it played. It costs a lot of money. It costs a lot of money. So unfortunately, bands like us are indie, and that's why there's so many campaigns like this going on. And you're not giving your money away. You're buying something. You're buying a product. It's not like you're donating your money to charity.
And getting nothing in return, right?
And getting nothing in return. It's basically you're buying product and merchandise straight to the merchant, which is the band, who are the owners of this merchandise, instead of giving half of your money to Hot Topic, and then 1/4 of the T-shirt cost goes to maybe the band, It doesn't work like that.
Right.
So think of it that way when you guys go and buy a lot of these perks.
Yeah, and not only that, think about it these days. $10, you're getting a digital download of the album. And if you go to McDonald's and spend $10, you eat your cheeseburger, it's gone. You have nothing to show for it. This way you have your music,
Absolutely.
to enjoy time and time again anytime you want to. So that's awesome. And $15, you get the download, a Victim and Villains comic book, and the dog tag necklace. I mean, you cannot do that at the store.
No, you can't.
There's no way.
I went to Speck's music store the other day, and I was tempted to buy a couple CDs, but then they were like $21, $22. I was like, man, so I just bought the digital copies for $9.99. I was like, I'm probably going to end up throwing the CD out anyways.
Yeah.
So it'll help us out. If you're a hard rock fan, even if you're not into super hard rock, but if you like rock music, I guarantee you're going to like our stuff. On our website, we have a preview of one of the songs called The Hollow. If you want to judge the quality of this record, go check it out. Listen to that song. But if you're going to listen to it, make sure you crank the hell out of your stereo system.
Definitely. I absolutely love that song. I listened to it yesterday, and I tweeted it out, and it just, if that's a preview, I know I'm in. I'm all in. Of course, I donated, but even if I didn't, just by listening to that and reading what you guys have and the previews and everything, I would have did it right then and there.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And for our listeners, when you do go to Indiegogo.com and you search for Message to Venus, there's 2 that actually come up, but one is over with. So be sure to pick the correct one that says Help Message to Venus release their new album, Victim and Villains.
Yep.
The other one's not going to do any good if you donate. And before I forget to ask you, I saw a photo on Indiegogo where your shirt is off and you're singing and you're recording your song. Is that something you normally do? You have your shirt off?
I never have a shirt on. But I'm from Puerto Rico, like in my house, I never have a shirt on. But in the recording studio, like a lot of these studios don't have, remember, these aren't multi-million-dollar studios. These are basically houses that have isolated rooms. So because an AC creates noise and these high frequency microphones pick up all the sounds, so it's like a sweat box in there.
Oh, wow, I can imagine. Well, it's a good thing you put that up there because that'll bring some girls in for you too. If they had any doubts, all they have to do is see that picture, and they'll think, oh,
there
good. When I go see them live, then Jandre's not going to be wearing a shirt. Yeah, I'm all for it. Let's go.
Yeah. Beautiful.
So after you get the funding, you'll be releasing the album and everything, and you'll be going on tour. Do you guys already know where you'd like to go?
I think it's going to be an East Coast thing this time. We want to concentrate on one part of the States, which is the whole coast. We wish we can go back to like states like Texas or places like Chicago, but, gas is a cost and everything. So we are going to do a lot of concentrating, especially in the Florida region. So you're going to hear a lot of us on Florida, and I got a lot of friends waiting for me all the way up in New York City and Connecticut area. So we're definitely willing to make our way all the way up there and do a bunch of stops like the Carolinas and so on.
Well, now I'm going to cry because I'm in Chicago.
I love Chicago. But definitely not this year. We're not going to make it to Chicago. We did 2 gigs there last year. It was a lot of fun.
I wish I would have known.
Elbows Room was one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Elbows Room, and the other one was, I don't even remember the name, but it was like on top of a pizzeria. which made amazing pizza. And we did 2 gigs with burlesque girls, so it was pretty much fun. It was really interesting, yeah. I didn't know what burlesque was until that gig. Well, I had an idea, but then all of a sudden I was like, wait a second, what is going on here? So.
Oh, gosh. Well, maybe you'll connect again.
I guess so.
Do you like to play, like, music festivals and things like that?
Absolutely. They are so much fun because you get to meet so many other cool musicians, and you know, music festivals are really awesome, especially when you get to interact with fans. You do the little merch booth with all the other bands, and people it's awesome to have people go up to you and be like, you guys were great, or I can't wait to see you, you know, or can you sign me? Can you take a picture with me? It's really a beautiful feeling, you know, to have people appreciate who you are and what you do. And
you make new fans that way, too, because they may have been there for another band, and then they get to hear you guys, and there you go.
Yeah. I've been shined out. I would never do that to a fan. I'm going to tell you a short story. Recently, I worked with a friend of mine for an opening session in Red Hot Chili Peppers in Puerto Rico. His band opened up, and I was like a main guitar tech and like a stage manager. So what happened was I had a younger brother who passed away about 13 years ago. My brother was a bass player, and I still got my brother's bass, and I took my brother's bass to that Red Hot Chili Peppers concert because my brother's favorite bass player was Flea. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't really care about hanging out with Flea. I don't care about having a beer with him or whatever, because I've heard rumors that, you know, when you get to that level, you become a diva, you know, and I didn't even care for taking a picture with him. The only thing I wanted in memory was to have him sign my brother's bass.
Yeah.
So while we're backstage, and I hope Flea one day hears this story so he can see how much of an asshole he was that night. So one day that night, when we were backstage with right before we were performing, and then they closed off a section for the Chili Peppers, of course, but then we can go through that area. So I became really good friends of the bass tech, of Flea's bass tech, including bass. Flea, I touched all your basses, dude. I touched all your basses. I played. Okay? So I don't know what you do with, dude. And I didn't untune them under supervision. So the bass tech and I became good friends, and he was a super cool guy. And I told him the story. I'm like, dude, I just want Flea to sign my brother's bass. That's all I want. This isn't for, you know, this sentimental thing. He's like, all right, let me see what I can do. So he took the bass to the backstage. On top of the desk, that there was a bunch of T-shirts, there was a bunch of hats, there was a bunch of posters and CDs. They signed everything on that table except for the bass. I had the bass. I had the bass with a metallic Sharpie right in between the strings. It was like screaming at him, like signing.
Yeah.
I would peep through the door and look at Flea playing the bass, like not that bass, but his own, like warming up backstage. And he was like warming up, like jumping up and down. And I would see him looking at the bass. He's looking at it. And I'll be like, dude, sign the bass. And he'd just like hide back in the backstage room, and he was like going hide. I was like, I can't believe it. What an asshole. So then finally, at the end of the gig, after the bass was back there for like 3 hours, I go up to the bass tech. I'm like, hey, man, can you just get me the bass? And then after that, he goes up to me. He's like, all right, let me go see if it's there. It took him like 10 minutes, and he comes back, and I see it signed by one person, right? And I started crying because I got real sentimental. But then when I'm on, and I even posted, I'm like, Flea on my brother's bass, Flea. But then afterwards, I'm looking at it, I'm like, wait a second, this isn't Flea's signature, because Flea writes Flea. He writes Flea, and he does a little happy face. And it turns out, excuse my ignorance, but I don't know the name of the new guitar player for Red Hot Chili Peppers, but that is who signed my brother's bass.
Wow.
You know, that's really no big deal to me. I even felt like erasing it. It just has no value to me. That's not the value. My brother, that guy didn't even exist when my brother was alive, you know?
Yeah.
So just going down to earth, you know. You see something, you don't know the real story. So maybe they thought, they're like, oh, this is probably some asshole that wants all of our signatures so he can make a couple of bucks on eBay. you know.
Right.
Well, guess what? That wasn't the story. It was more of a sentimental thing. That bass has never left my parents' house in the past 13 years, and I took the risk of leaving it unattended and without any surveillance. Like anybody could have just stolen that bass that night just to get a guy to take it. How long does it take somebody to sign something? How long? You know, like a couple of seconds. Especially
when he's there signing all the other stuff. I mean, my gosh.
You know?
That's heartbreaking. So, I don't like to hear stories like that because you are where you are because of people like your brother that love that band and supported them by buying their music and
we did.
Going to their concerts.
I remember how hard it was for us to buy music back in the day. You know, we had to go to Sam Goody, buy the cassette. I remember Blood, Sex, and Tears, listening to Give It Away Now and just, like, putting that cassette on. We burned that cassette out when we begged our mom to give us another $7 to go to Sam Goody and buy that cassette again. You know, it's like, dude, fuck you, man. It's like I will never buy another one of his records again. I'm so offended.
Oh, I'm so sorry that happened to you.
It's all good.
I'm so happy that you're not going to be that way, and I know there's other bands out there that will take the time to do things like that for their fans because they appreciate them and know that they brought them where they are right now. So,
absolutely.
You know, you got to learn things the hard way sometimes, and I always believe in karma. So what you put out is what you're going to get in return. It may not happen at that moment, but eventually it's going to kick you right in the ass, and you're going to be sorry you did some.
Maybe he'll pop a string on a really important song.
Or you guys are going to be bigger than them, and that's it. Yeah. They're going to be opening for you, all right?
Oh, my God. We'll see that day.
I believe in that. You take my word on that. When you guys are big and you get back out there on the phone lines and start calling in for interviews like this one, you remember I said that and you call me.
I will.
Now, which song do you like to perform the most live?
Live, the song I like to perform. Probably, I really enjoy playing Universal U. It's a really fun riff, especially in the end. In the end of Universal U, we do like this little breakdown thing, and it's a lot of fun to feel it, like especially when you feel it real tight. Another song, to be honest with you, To Smile live last year, we did like a hard rock version, very Foo Fighter-ish, and it was like upbeat. And we did To Smile live, and every time I played that song, it was so much fun. So much fun. It wasn't the melancholy, the sad acoustic song. We did like an upbeat.
Well, you know, you feed the audience that way. When you guys are having fun, then we're having fun, and it goes vice versa. So as long as you're up there enjoying yourself, we're going to have fun too. Do you have people in the audience that are singing any of your lyrics yet with you guys live?
I saw it on a couple gigs. I saw it. The gig I most saw that at was not in the States. It was in Puerto Rico on the Coors Light Indie Tour. We opened up for MGMT and a couple other bands. It was a really big gig. There was like maybe 6,000 people there. And I remember when I went down to the crowd singing Cold and Gray, I remember seeing like a large amount of people, kids, singing the lyrics with me. And I was like, whoa. It felt off.
That's got to be a massive emotion that goes through you when you see that, because, you know, how many concerts have you been to personally where you know the words to the songs, and then they, you know, the performer up there throws the mic out and lets you sing? I mean, that's so much fun for us.
Yes, it is. So it was very overwhelming. I remember I stopped singing the verse at the time because I couldn't, like, I was like choking.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it was emotional. I was like,
yeah.
So then, but then I went back at it. I'm like, all right, man, quick, get your shit together.
Yeah. Well, for our listeners out there, please follow Message to Venus on Twitter @MessageToVenus, and be sure to like their Facebook page, which you just put in Message to Venus and it comes right up. Check out their website for the Indiegogo link and up-to-date news on MessageToVenus.com. And please donate whatever you can to get Victim and Villains released and these guys on tour. I mean, you won't be sorry. Especially you East Coasters, and us in Chicago will have to wait.
Hey, I love Chicago. I'll definitely be back up there. I promise.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, and for our listeners, stick around. You already heard Universal You, but I'm going to play the show and to smile. And Jandre, I want to thank you so much for joining me today, and thanks again for your patience with all the technical difficulties in the beginning.
No big deal. It was only a minute. Don't worry about it.
Thank you. It was such a pleasure speaking with you, and I would love for you to keep in contact with me, and wish you all the best.
Thank you so much. Awesome.
You're welcome.
Have a beautiful one.
Thank you. You have a wonderful day, and don't work too hard.
Nope.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, and for our listeners, here is the show by Message to Venus. Next up is To Smile.
don't need your rejection. We are the same. No more reason for distance. You are my everything, and my all I need is you. Take a look at this picture now, 'cause I need you to smile in this case, and I need you to smile all over again, and I need you to smile to erase. I just need you to smile again and again for me. You are my everything. When it's dark, you are my light. We are one, you are my eyes. Please don't take this away while I say you're my reason, you're my why. I don't need your rejection. We are the same. No more reason for distance. You are my everything, and my all I need is you. Take a look at this picture now, 'cause I need you to smile in this case, and I need you to smile all over again, and I need you to smile to erase, and I just need you to smile again and again for me. You are my everything.
Such a beautiful song, and you really do have to watch the video for that, as well as their other videos on their YouTube channel. It'll seriously touch your heart when you see all those pictures up there. Also, like I said, please follow them on Twitter at Message to Venus, and check out their Facebook and their website for any up-to-date news. Since they're going to be going on tour, you will have to watch that to see where they're going to be playing at, and maybe you can go see them. I would love to see them one day in concert, so I'll have to wait my turn when they make their way this way to Chicago. Thanks for everybody for listening in today and also bearing with me with the technical difficulties. And I hope you enjoyed the show. Jandre was such a pleasure to speak with. So much fun. He has a great sense of humor, but definitely dedicated to his music, and it shows by just listening to their music. Pick up their EP, The Envelope. If you don't already have it, please donate to their Indiegogo project to get Victims-and-Villians out. You won't be sorry. Check out the song Hollow on there and their videos, and read more about it if you have any questions, or just tweet them. I'm sure they'll get back to you. They seem pretty connected with their fans, which makes a big difference. And I guess that's it for now. I'll be back on Monday. Now, normally Mondays are Music Mondays, where I play indie music from around the world. But this Monday, I actually have a guest that I'll be interviewing, and he is a wonderful country artist, and his name is Stacy Burke. He's recently made a video for a song of his with one of the dancers from Dancing with the Stars, and I'm not going to tell you who it is. You'll have to tune in to find out. And that will be at 3 p.m. Eastern Time on Monday. And let me check and see what that date is. That would be August 11th. So tune in, and we'll see you then. Have a great day. Thank you all for, as always, joining me. God bless.
Get connected with Take Two Radio Music on Facebook or Twitter at Take Two Radio Music. Or for email updates on future shows, follow at Blog Talk Radio. For previous episodes, upcoming guests, and more, visit TakeTwoRadioMusic.com.